As a beginner in the print-on-demand space, it can feel overwhelming. You might be asking questions like, what do I even do? What do I sell? What products do I sell? What niche do I go into? In this episode, we're going to give you 3 prime opportunities that you should consider going into 2025 and beyond as a print-on-demand beginner. My name is Kerry Egler, here with my co-host Adrian Von Arx, and welcome to the Print-on-Demand Playbook podcast. Adrian, what's going on, man?
Dude, I am doing well, man. I am excited for the holidays, excited for the new year, just feeling all the feels right now. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great, feeling good. When we're recording this, we're coming off Thanksgiving week. So I had a good Thanksgiving. We went up to Washington to visit my brother, and then we came back on Thanksgiving Day to Oklahoma, which was kind of interesting. And then we had 2 Thanksgivings in one day, so both sides of the family in one day. So it was like a lot all at once, travel and double Thanksgivings. But overall, we had a great time, and everything was really smooth with both families and all that. So it was good. It was
Nice,
good.
man. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah. So excited about today's episode. We're going to be talking about. So it's kind of interesting. As I was coming up with the notes for this episode, I wasn't sure how I wanted to do it. Like I was really intrigued by this idea of, kind of giving our print-on-demand beginners. We have a lot of listeners that are beginners, like giving you some advice around niches, around products, around things that might differentiate your brand. And it was like, I kind of, on one side, I wanted to give like concrete, just like ideas that people could run with. But then as I was kind of doing my research, I decided to kind of break it down in a different format. So it's going to be interesting how this kind of comes out. But basically the rundown for today's episode, we're going to start with talking about some high demand niches for 2025. I think that will be awesome. Then the second part, we're going to talk about some product ideas for a new beginner brand. And then our third part, we'll talk about some brand differentiators, how you can stand out from the crowd. And I think if you're a beginner, just to give a little bit of advice here on kind of how to approach this episode, because Adrian, there's going to be a lot of like nuggets, a lot of really actionable information shared. But if you are a beginner, like how do you approach this episode? You should look at these 3 kind of categories we're going to talk through and kind of pick and choose what you want to take back to your brand from each of these categories. And I think hopefully as a beginner, you'll be able to kind of craft a really great plan to launch your brand from these 3 different categories here by just kind of taking some of these nuggets and putting them together. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. I'm excited. Let's do this.
There's gonna be some good stuff in here for sure, and it's gonna be some good conversation. Before we jump into the first portion, I do want to just mention one of our listeners. We have an Apple review this week that comes from Reed S. So Reed, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And Reed said, been a very helpful show. Could be a newbie or a vet. Give some real advice, not just trying to sell a course. So we appreciate that. Great review, Reed. You're awesome. And of course, it's always our goal to give like real actionable advice, not just fluff on this podcast. And that's why I love doing it, because it gives us that long kind of format to really expound on things and not just give you a 60-second video or even a 10-minute video. You get kind of that expanded information and training. Any
Totally,
thoughts on
man.
that, Adrian?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the review. And I totally feel the same, like lead with value.
Yeah.
Like we want people to succeed, whether they're in our programs or not. We know there's opportunities out there and there's enough for everybody. So I love hearing stories about people taking action, even if they're not our students. Like it's so awesome hearing about different people's wins. And yeah, man, I just love reading these reviews and hearing, nice things like this, that people are listening, they're getting value out of it. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So let's get into the first part of today's episode. We're going to talk about high demand niches for 2025. And so, Adrian, I probably did more research on this episode, on the notes for this episode, than maybe I ever have. Like I did such a deep dive of just trying to really come up with some good stuff. And so what I wanted to give our listeners here in the first portion is like some very specific niches that you could consider as a beginner that I believe are in pretty high demand and they're pretty unique. And I think you could really do great with. So the first one is internet memes and just internet culture. Okay, so this is kind of a weird one.
Interesting.
What's that?
Interesting. I'm sure people are, I want to hear what you have to say about this
Yeah.
one.
Hey, I'm butting into this episode real quick. Just want to take a quick pause to tell you a little bit about Shirt School. Shirt School is my program that has helped thousands of people from around the globe start, grow, and scale profitable online t-shirt and apparel businesses since 2019. 5 years. That's crazy. But if you want to check out a free class, so if you're somebody who is starting a brand new online apparel or t-shirt or print on demand business, or you want to grow your business, I want you to go check out my free class. I'll break down the entire system and how it can work for you. And all you need to do is go over to shirtschool.com. You can register for an upcoming class for free. It's pretty much on demand. There's some time slots, but it's pretty much on demand. Just go over to shirtschool.com to check out that free class. It's about 60 to 75 minutes. I know you'll love it. Back to the episode. Internet memes and internet culture. So I found some really interesting stuff about this. I think that so like one of the things I wanted to mention, and this is maybe a bigger conversation, but one of the things I wanted to mention in here is that over the last, gosh, probably 5 to 10 years, we'll just use that as a time frame. I want to hear your thoughts on this, but what we've seen is we have seen internet celebrities, YouTubers, podcasters, um, Instagram stars, TikTok stars, like they've become the celebrities of our time. Like these internet personalities, these influencers, like they've really become celebrities, right? Like they're these YouTubers and content creators are even who kids are kind of looking up to, where they used to look at actors and these, superheroes and different things like that. It's like it's these YouTube stars, it's these internet personalities that a lot of people are really looking to for a lot of different things, entertainment, coaching, their thoughts on different things. And so I think that's one thing that we've seen. And what that does is that it makes what they say, what these internet people and personalities and different things, it makes what they say more notable. It makes it
Mm.
carry more weight. And so, part of that around that is how we get these memes and different sayings and all this different kind of stuff. And I think this is a prime opportunity to kind of start turning this into different ideas for brands, not just necessarily memes, but the internet, kind of this internet culture, finding things that have become popular from an internet perspective, not just on the internet, but personalities and sayings and different things that have kind of gained popularity, and turning those into brand ideas. What are your initial thoughts on that? I've got a lot more to say here, but
Yeah.
what are your initial thoughts?
Oh man, I have so many questions. For
I don't
so
have answers, but
okay, by celebrities, like by like online celebrities, are you talking about people like Jake Paul, Mr. Beast, all these like big influencers?
I think, yeah, I think you would put them in that category for sure. For sure. And
Okay, and
I'm not just talking about that, right? Like I said, like internet memes, obviously, like we see tons of different, you know, uh memes out there, meme
mhm.
accounts, and like just these funny sayings and these like pictures that become just humongous. Like they just become massive. But yeah, they would fall in that category.
So so how would you turn, well, I guess you wouldn't take that person's name and then turn
No.
it into your own brand or anything. But for memes, for example, that go really big, how would you make that like your own original brand and niche?
Yeah, essentially my thought is like the same way that you would do it now with celebrities, movies, anything in like pop culture, right? Like we talk a lot about these viral sayings that you then kind of bring back to your niche, turn into, a unique design. Like you would do the same thing, switching out words. It's anything that's really like trending, gaining popularity kind of in this space. There's Let me bring up some examples that could
Sure.
maybe kind of help us. And some of these kind of fall into different categories, but so full product lines and brands have been spawned out of just like internet personalities and internet memes. So there's this one called Skibbity Toilet. I don't even completely know what this is. Have you heard of this?
No, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm Googling it right now though.
Um, yeah, this Skibbity
I
Toilet.
heard a
It's
squatty potty.
yeah, it's not all these are clothing ideas, but obviously you can not necessarily you can do this in print on demand products and different things, but these are kind of different products. But Yeah, I don't know that much about it. So Skibbity Toilet, it's a web series created by some guy. And anyways, people love it. Apparently, it's become like they've turned it into products. I saw this the other day in Walmart, and I was like,
What?
"What the heck is this?" Anyways, I don't want to get off on a Skibbity Toilet
Dude, I Googled it.
conversation.
It's like the images that come are so creepy, man.
Yeah, they
It's
are.
some dude's head in a toilet.
I know they have tons of followers apparently.
Wow.
Um, another kind of brand in this vein is called Mythical. I don't know if you ever heard of Mythical.
Nope.
Mythical was spawned from these guys, Rhett and Link, are their YouTube stars, and they basically started a brand around all of the different sayings and just kind of funny culture that has to do with their YouTube videos. Um, and in kind of a different vein, those two examples are more like built off of the back of a certain brand and like what they're saying and different things. But there's a couple other brands like Look Human. I don't know if you ever heard of Look Human,
I
but
have heard of Look Human.
yeah,
Yes.
like they sell a ton of different stuff. But one of the categories that they have, that's one of their most popular categories from the research I could find, is just all around just random internet memes that were just super popular that tons of people know about, and they turned them into t-shirts. Kind of the same thing with Middle Class Fancy. I've talked about Middle Class Fancy a lot,
Mhm.
and their kind of niche is kind of like just middle class funny things, middle class people. But it's all memes. Like it's pretty much all just like funny memes that they turned into clothing, or they turned into these sayings, right? And then turned into products. And then what I really like that you can check out, it's called Famous in Real Life, and this is like, I'm trying to pull it up. That's why I'm struggling. But
Hmm.
this is literally a brand, again, just 100% built off of just internet funny culture. Like when you go look at their clothes, I mean, it's all just like funny internet memes, sayings, all this kind of stuff. And from what I can tell, like they're doing pretty well. They get about 35,000 visits per month to their store. And yeah, so it's just like random stuff found on the internet turned into products. So, anyways, you can also find like meme and internet culture designs. They're all over marketplaces like Etsy and Redbubble, all this kind of stuff. So we know that there's demand there because there's just so much culture around these things. So I think this could be potentially a really good niche in 2025.
So I'm just curious for clarity. Um do you mean like someone who is already niche down, someone already has a very clear niche? Let's say that they're in the pickleball niche. We always use pickleball. That they would look at these websites and then create original designs inspired by them? Or are you saying someone creates an entire brand completely built around memes?
I think it's I think you see it both ways. I think you could do either. I think internet memes could be a its own brand for sure. You could create a lot of brands. There's a gazillion of these sayings and memes. So you create an entire brand around that. Or if a niche has big enough influencers, big enough, accounts and different things that are putting out content that's going viral, then I think you could turn it like just like we saw, like Middle Class Fancy is exactly that, right? Like
Hmm.
most of their content isn't even original, but it's all around middle class culture,
Mhm.
and they're pulling all this content from other places and turning it into these funny memes. And then when those memes blow up, they put it on products. Like
Right.
so, it could go. I think it could go either way for sure. But in general,
Cool.
I think a good opportunity is really paying attention to internet culture. Pop. It's
Yeah.
almost like pop culture outside of the movies and TV. Like it's just internet pop culture. It's things that were made popular specifically by the internet.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I definitely see how someone who has a brand in a particular niche, how they could pay attention to things in the media, to social media, to memes, to culture, all this stuff, and then find creative ways to blend that into their own niche. And I've seen brands be really successful with that. I have
Yeah,
done things like that before for my
for
brands as
sure.
well. You can have a lot of success that way. It'd be interesting though to see like if you were just a meme brand. So would the idea to be to create like a big following on Instagram for meme culture and then to just create merch inspired by the most viral memes? Is that like what you're kind of thinking?
I think it could be. It could be.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not like diving deep into the marketing strategy on this episode, but
Yeah.
I think that could be definitely could be a strategy
Cool.
for sure. All right, moving to the second one. So I got three niches and I got some honorable mentions. So high demand niches for 2025. The second one is remote work and digital nomads. I really
Mm.
like this one. I think this is a great one. So we've seen that, obviously since COVID, really, the world's kind of increasingly moved in this direction where more people are working for themselves, more people are working from home, remote work, and a lot of people are starting a side hustle. There's pretty crazy stat. The newest information we have is 2023. But in 2023, there was a record breaking 5.5 million applications for new businesses in the US,
Wow.
which was like an all time record. And I think the previous record was right around 5 million. So, like 500,000 increase in that 1 year. Um, so, saying that, more people are starting their own businesses. And I would imagine the majority of those are laptop businesses, working from home, those kind of things. There's another stat out there that 44% of those 5.5 million applications were actually for side hustles, or they started. I should say that. Let me say that right. They started as side hustles, and now they want to turn them into legit businesses.
Dude,
Meaning that,
I love hearing that for
yeah,
people.
it's great. Meaning that again, more people are thinking about, hey, how do I start moving from my 9 to 5 into my own business? And because it gives me the time freedom, it gives me the, all that kind of stuff, access to do what I want, but do what I want with my time. Also gives you the ability to make more money.
Mm.
Um, so some examples of things that you could do in this category of kind of like remote work, digital nomads, side hustle culture, entrepreneurship in general, the digital nomad kind of like lifestyle, like just quotes, sayings around being a digital nomad, um, quotes and sayings and designs about work, being able to work from anywhere, the freedom you have. These themes would be great for different brand ideas, right? There are kind of sub niches within this that you could go through. That's kind of what I'm talking about here. Side hustle, just being an entrepreneur in general. A one man business, different things like this, right? The kind of different categories you could go into. But one other thing I would mention, and just kind of one other thing to support this, is that we've seen that like activewear and like comfortable clothing has just been like has just exploded in popularity, right? Like it's literally what I wear every day. Like I put on jeans like once a month. Like it's crazy because I'm
Same,
just
man.
always in like you know what I mean?
I
But
can't remember
it's
the last time I wore jeans.
yeah, but part of the reason that this category of like activewear and like comfortable clothing has grown so much is because that more and more people are working from home or working for themselves and can work from anywhere, meaning like they don't have to wear dress clothes, right? They don't have to wear jeans or anything like that. And so we can see like that explosion kind of supports that this is definitely a hot niche or market to go into. What are your thoughts on this?
So yeah, I'm curious. Okay, so are you suggesting? I just want to finesse this. I want to pick your brain here. So are you suggesting brands sort of like lean into comfort wear, active wear, regardless of the niche, or are you talking about specifically a niche that's all about the entrepreneur life, the digital nomad life, and that's just one of the product types is comfortable active wear that a lot of us who work from home wear
Yeah.
most of the time.
I think it could be a category. It could be a product that you use, but I'm not necessarily suggesting that. I was more using that from like that data from larger brands to kind of support that. Hey, one of the big reasons that activewear has blown up is because more people are working for themselves, working from home, working remotely, and they can wear whatever they want. And so
Right.
do you need to have an activewear brand? No. I'm more talking about picking one of these categories within it, such as like side hustle culture, being a laptop, the laptop
Warrior.
lifestyle, right? Like traveling and being able to kind of work for yourself, not necessarily going into the traveling niche, although you could combine that with this for sure. Like entrepreneurs who love to travel, those kind of things, being able to work from anywhere, those kind of themes on products or clothing. It doesn't have to be clothing, could be a number of different products. And you could offer active wear. You don't have to. It's not like a, not like a requirement, but I'm talking about more going into this as a niche.
Interesting. I know I've seen some brands in the entrepreneurial niche. Are you thinking something like that, but more specific with like side hustles or like digital nomads or something like that?
Yeah, I think you could go into any of those categories for like fully for your brand, right? Like just picking something within this. Obviously these are a little bit, these niches are a little bit more broad, like, and you might want to kind of figure out what part you want to go into. But some examples again would be like people who have a side hustle, right? Like
Mm.
creating a brand around that. Um, Again, people who can work from anywhere and love to work where they're traveling. Like there's a ton of things you could do with that as far as your designs go. Um, and then I think that entrepreneurship kind of fits in there, but it's through the lens of people who um, you know love to really just can work from anywhere, and the freedom, like, it's not necessarily the hustle culture, although that would fall kind of under the entrepreneurship thing. It's kind of the digital nomad, can work from anywhere. um yeah, that like lives that lifestyle
Interesting. Okay.
for sure. Okay, number 3, the last, and I've got some honorable mentions. The last kind of high demand niche for 2025 is crypto and blockchain.
Mm.
Um, so I I would say I'm like huge into crypto and blockchain. I'm definitely not like that deep into it, so I don't know a ton about it. But doing a lot of research, um, it's growing like crazy. It's been growing crazy. We're like right now we're in a bull market as far as like if you invest in crypto and blockchain, it's like going through the roof. I think Bitcoin just hit $100,000 for the first time ever. Like it's pretty wild, and there's a whole kind of culture around this. And so I'm not just talking about, it could be a number of things. I'm not just talking about investing into crypto or people who invest into crypto, although that could be one category. But there's also so many other things, like, decentralization and like all of the software and different things you can do on blockchain. There's all these different elements. So I'm not super well versed in this, but I think if you are somebody who's like in the crypto and blockchain world and you kind of understand this world, which there's a lot of people that are really deep into this.
Mm.
This could be a prime opportunity for you. Um, it's growing. Like I said, it's growing each year. More and more people are becoming interested in it, and they're using it. One of the things that some of the other data that kind of supports this, right, is what we've seen recently in my research is that major financial institutions are getting involved, which is going to spur more growth. What we've seen in the past is that like banks and major financial institutions have been very hesitant to get into the crypto world, and so now they're starting to embrace it. Starting to become more normal. And also, many governments, including the incoming U.S. government administration, they're pro crypto, which could
Mm.
also, is a good sign as far as like keeping regulations low or driving down regulations. And that, again, that could spur more growth if you have a government that kind of supports it. So, and the last thing I would say, and I've kind of already mentioned this, but like, if you want to talk about like a cult following, like just a passionate fan base, this is one that could be very, very, very high potential. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I've actually seen some shirts that sold really well in the crypto niche, like the Diamond Hands one.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that's trademarked. Well, I don't actually know if it's trademarked or not, but I've just seen it so much.
maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Um, but yeah, I have seen some shirts in this niche, and yeah, a lot of crypto people, they love to talk about crypto. They're very passionate. There's crypto conferences. So it'll be interesting. It would be interesting to see like a lifestyle brand or just a brand, like a dedicated crypto brand, come
Yeah.
out and what that would look. Maybe it already exists. I
Well, it
just don't
definitely
know of any
exists,
off the
but
top of my
I did
head.
not pull
But
any examples for this one, but it does exist
oh, it
for sure.
does. Okay. That doesn't surprise me at all. I mean,
Yeah.
Bitcoin's been big for years. It always seems to kind of ebb and flow, you know?
Well,
Um,
yeah. I mean, like you have kind of the the bandwagoners a little bit whenever it goes, whenever crypto goes up, everybody kind of gets excited about it. But then where we're at now and where we're like, what it's kind of growing to is even when crypto's down as like an investment, you have a very large base of fans that are like so committed and so passionate about it that even when the investment is low, like the excitement's still there for a certain group of people. So
Totally. Totally.
I definitely think whether you're in like a bull market or or it's down or whatever, like you can still have success in this niche for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give some honorable mentions, and then we'll move to the second category here, our second portion of this.
Cool.
But these honorable mentions are maybe more common ones that you would see. I wanted to give our listeners some unique ones. That's what the three we talked about are a little bit not the norm that we would really talk about. We talk about different niches all the time, but some honorable mentions: fitness and health, huge one, obviously, huge category.
Massive.
And there's so many different things. Yeah, massive. There's so many different ways you could go in fitness and health as far as starting a print-on-demand brand. So many different aspects. But I would say that what I see here, and this is my family as well, but even outside of my family, is I feel like it is a huge trend, right? Like health is a huge trend right now and seems to be trending up. Is that like we're trying to get healthier here in the US? And that's something that I see. So that's getting more kind of attention, more eyeballs.
So when you say fitness and health, are you talking about that as like a broad category, and then you would choose kind of like one of the areas under that category, like gym, for example, or running, or okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many students in kind of fitness and health, but there's different ways you can go with it. We talk about brands like Whole Strength, right? It's like Christians who lift. We have people that are just in like they create these weightlifting brands. They're all focused around people who lift weights. We talk about CrossFit, different things like that. And there are so many brands in so many different categories, but just as a kind of broad category to go into, fitness and health is always good. It's always a good one. Animals and pets, again, kind of in that same vein. This is like a larger category, but there's so many different ways you can go underneath that. Animals and pets is always a lucrative niche to go into. And so if you're considering that, like you should do it for sure.
So many passionate animal lovers, and not just like dogs and cats, like people who are passionate about elephants, people who are passionate about certain type of wildlife. There's just I think of like Shelley Cove, which is a brand that's really passionate about sea turtles. I think of Ivory Ella, which is a brand that's really passionate about elephants. There's a lot of, and these are big brands, like
it's not just cats and dogs.
Brands. What's that?
It's not just cats and dogs.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like cats and dogs are like pets, but there's a lot of people that are very passionate about particular animals as well. And there's big movements of people who, they care a lot about this, and they would love to support a brand that also aligns with their values there. It's like we say, passion plus products equals profits, right?
For sure. For sure. And the last two I have here, travel and then also gaming. So like travel, not to spend too much time here, but we just talked about more people being able to work from wherever as far as remote work, and also like starting side hustles, starting businesses. That only grows travel, right? Like I think it's going to continue to become easier to travel. Like there's going to be different methods of traveling, different things like that. And so travel is always a good one to go into. People are very passionate about traveling. And then also gaming. Gaming is just always a good one. It's always growing. All the stats I saw are like huge growth in gaming. So I think that's a very passionate one that could also be very lucrative. Yeah. Any final thoughts on niches?
No, I like the honorable mentions. Like, I mean, fitness and health, I really like look for passion, and ideally it's passion that you have as well, because if you're actually passionate about this niche yourself, one, you're going to know a lot about it. Two, you're going to know the lingo, you're going to know the inside talk. And it's going to be a lot more fun. Also, if you're into a particular passion, let's say that you're into, let's just say CrossFit, for example, you probably go to CrossFit and you probably hang out with a lot of other CrossFitters. And so that could be great just to get ideas from them and to ask their feedback and opinion on things as well.
For sure. Moving in the second part, So that was kind of number one was, what niche are you going to go into? Picking something that's a little more high demand that, is trending, those kind of things is definitely something you want to consider when you're starting out. The second thing you're going to want to consider, which is the second category here, is what products are you going to sell? Now, Adrian, as I've been
Uh-oh.
mentioning, this is an odd episode. You're probably already getting that vibe. This is an odd
No, I'm
episode.
getting those vibes
You're
now.
getting those vibes?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, for real though. This is a little bit of an odd episode, but that's on purpose. Like I wanted to give our listeners stuff that they don't normally hear on here, so this is a little bit of an odd episode. So second category, what products are you going to sell? One way to stand out with print on demand is to find obscure products outside of the norm so that you don't blend in with everything else. There's lots of people that kind of teach this strategy, and I think we typically want to lean into uh, more common products, maybe I would say. Like I've sold mostly t-shirts. I know you've sold a lot of hats, different things like
Yep.
that. But one strategy is finding products that aren't necessarily just the norm. And what I would say is one reason I kind of put this in here in doing my research is I recently did a video on TikTok Shop, and I did a bunch of research into TikTok Shop, and I found this really cool tool where inside it's like the TikTok Ad Center or whatever, where you can see what products are trending on TikTok and on TikTok Shop. And what you'll find as far as like clothing, when you look at clothing, when you look at different things that might fit in the print on demand category, it's not just your typical like Bella Canvas 3001. Even though that's always a bestseller, like it's kind of weird products that are like super successful on TikTok. And this is one place. Obviously, it could be different on different platforms, but like the most trending products are sometimes like not just the typical products that you might see.
Are we talking
So,
about print on demand products here or just
yep.
any product in general?
I'm talking specifically about print on demand products.
Okay.
But yeah, I know what you're thinking. So kind of talking about products that maybe are outside of the norm, that kind of help you stand out. So like a couple trends that I've seen recently, and kind of these might be a little bit harder to find on print on demand, but they can be a great way to go. One trend is instead of the normal, typical kind of clothing styles, to go with oversized, baggy, and vintage wash kind of clothing. And in doing a little bit of research, I'm not recommending this print on demand. I don't know that much about them, but I found this print on demand called Tap Stitch. Have you ever heard of Tap Stitch?
I have not. No.
Yeah, so it's this print on demand called Tap Stitch. Tap Stitch.
Careful how you say that, my friend.
It's a weird episode. Tap Stitch. So they're I don't know if they've bought Huge POD. You've probably heard of Huge POD. I don't know if they've like bought them or whatever, but I guess they're combining, consolidating.
Oh,
Anyways,
interesting. Another merger happening?
Another merger, yeah. Like
whoa,
some of these are happening behind the scenes, and you gotta keep close track. Maybe we need to do a news episode. But actually, if you go to Huge POD, which is like one that I've heard of, it says on their website like, "Hey, we're combining with Tap Stitch." With their sister site, Tap Stitch. Maybe they were already one brand. I don't know.
merging.
Anyways.
Huge. Okay, yeah.
But so Tap Stitch is actually, as far as product line, they've got some really interesting and trendy products in this category. So if you go to their website and kind of look at their products, they're these kind of oversized vintage wash streetwear kind of looking products. And when this recent research I've done on TikTok Shop, this kind of style is like very trendy on TikTok right now. Like these products are going wild right now. When you look at like the hoodies is a product that's like trending on TikTok Shop right now, like crazy, but it's not necessarily your typical hoodies. Like it's this kind of stuff, right? Like it's like oversized, vintage, or it's like cropped, and they've got a lot of that as well, like cropped hoodies, cropped sweatshirts, this kind of stuff. So my point in saying this is that like you might have to dig a little bit to find some of these more obscure but still trendy products, but this can be a great way to stand out and get a lot of traction. Another category that would kind of fit into this might be wall art, right? So
Mm.
wall art isn't obviously it's a really popular category, but it's it can be very unique. Like you can do a lot of unique stuff with wall art. Another example, or another print on demand that you could look at out there. This one called Pop Customs. You've probably heard of Pop Customs. I believe most of their stuff. You've never heard of them?
No, I have not heard of Pop
Oh,
Customs.
okay. Well, they've got like a gazillion products, a gazillion, literally.
Hmm.
They've got a lot of products, but I believe most of their stuff does ship from China. So that might be something
Mm.
just to consider. But I know that there are a lot of print on demand sellers that have a lot of success using Pop Customs, or there are some other similar PODs, because when you do use a print on demand like this that might be shipping from another country, a lot of times that gives you access to some more interesting products, and it can be an easy way to stand out. Here's some examples. So, like Pop Customs, and again, I'm not recommending these print on demands. Just using them as kind of ideas that you could check into. But they've got the Stanley style cups. They've got dog clothing. They have ties. They have wall clocks, like with designs on them. Passport cases, right? We talked about the niche of travel and the niche of the digital nomad, right? Like a passport case could be a great product to kind of complement that.
Hmm.
Arm sleeves, right, to protect you from the sun. Those can have designs on them. That can be a really cool thing if you're in a niche that has kind of like outdoor activity. Swimsuits, gaming mouse pads, belt bags. Obviously, we've talked about as a very trendy product. This is a POD that offers that. And so, um, one thing I want to talk about here from a product perspective, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well, because I think this is a really good point to kind of bring up, is that I generally teach that a great strategy when you're building your brand, obviously you want to have a niche, but also consider specializing in like one type of product.
Right.
Meaning some of the examples that I've given here, right? Like you could create a drinkware brand in one of these niches. You could create a tie brand. I know that's a weird one, but like you could put unique designs on ties and create a whole brand that just specializes in ties. And again, this is something that helps you stand out from the crowd, is like going straight to this tie brand as opposed to just going to a random dress store and getting my ties, right? Like
Mm.
you look more like a specialty store, a little bit more expertise, that kind of thing. Wall again, clock brand. You could be a swimsuit brand, right? You could be a belt bag brand. Um, you could specialize in one type of product and really be like the go-to brand within a niche for a certain product line. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I really encourage people to focus on one core product when they're
Mhm.
starting their brand.
Yeah.
Um, Usually, I think of kind of more common products,
Hmm.
like t-shirts, hoodies, hats, or something like that. At least until you have a winning design, and then when you have a winning design, turn that into a collection.
Yeah.
But you know, the quickest way really to sales and profitability is to create a winning design. And then from there, a lot of options open up. But I think a lot of people get hung up when they're starting their store on putting all of their designs on like 10, 15 products.
Hmm.
Even if none of those designs are winners, even if they have no validation that those are designs that people actually want to buy. And it's sad that when this happens, because these people that are doing this, they're spending a lot of their time in most cases to do this. And it just, I feel bad for them. I'm like, this isn't the best use of your time. Like, rather than putting one design on 15 products, what if you put 15 designs on one product? Like, that's going to get you closer to creating a winning design that you can scale, a design that can transform your brand and transform your life. So, I'm definitely with you on this. I'm huge on having a core product and focusing more on creating more designs for your core
Yeah.
product in search of creating that winner that you can
Hmm.
scale out to other potential products and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some of these products are super unique. And I
Yeah.
know there are some brands that are seeing success with
Hmm.
unique products, like metal wall art has really blown up over the last couple of years. And I know that there are some brands dedicated to metal wall art. The most classic one I think of that's not apparel is probably mugs. a brand that just, that's their core product is
Yeah,
mugs. But I do really like the focus on a core product.
exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah. I think what you don't want to do is, you know, you like you said, you don't want to just like add a ton of different products. You know what I mean? Like you don't just want to have all these categories of different products. And I see that a lot. I think
yeah,
as print on demand sellers, because there's no risk in like there's no inventory risk, there's no financial risk, you can just list products, like that makes a lot of people just think, I'll just list all the products in my print on demand. You know what I mean? So it's like you
yeah.
have all these different categories. I think it's a much better strategy to specialize in one product category or one type of product and find your winning design with that type of product, and then maybe from there figure out how you can expand it out a little bit, but
Right.
focus on one product.
Yeah.
um,
I mean, what I really like about it at the end of the day, it comes down to you make more of the focus on the designs. And that's what people are
yeah.
buying, like even if it's a cool product, if it's something, if it doesn't resonate with people, like what it says on it, a lot of people just aren't going to buy it. Right. And
Mhm.
so have the cool product plus the design that evokes emotion and relatability for that particular target audience. And that can be a huge recipe for success.
Yeah, and I think if you combine that with a trendy product, a product that might be already a little bit trendy, like some maybe some like a few of the things, not all these are trendy products, but a few of the things we talked about here, belt bags, for instance, right? Like that's a trendy product. So you combine a winning design with a trendy product like that, that can be a recipe for big sales.
Yeah.
I also mentioned here, just kind of the last thing would be like anything beauty related. This is another thing. I keep going back to TikTok Shop because this is like a huge TikTok Shop's just been kind of blowing up. Um, but beauty related products are huge. I think it's the second or third uh, highest trending category on TikTok Shop is like beauty related products. And we've been talking a lot about more print on demands, kind of putting these kind of products in their catalog. And that might be something to consider. So I don't have any specifics on that. I know it's kind of like a kind of an up and coming print on demand product category, but this can be a very very lucrative product.
Yeah.
Very
So
trendy.
when you talk about beauty, are you talking about like makeup and stuff, or are you talking about more about supplements, health products? What specifically are you thinking?
Could be any of that. Could be like skincare. Could be
Mhm.
supplements. Could be makeup. Yeah, could be any of those categories.
Yeah, because I know Printify has a number of products in there.
Yeah,
Like it's crazy. Like of all the people I know in print on demand, I don't actually know anyone personally who has yet started like a sole print on demand coffee brand, a sole print on demand supplements brand, or a sole print on demand healthcare brand. Like,
coffee is
with,
another interesting one.
yeah, coffee is another one, right? Like the reason I mentioned those three is because Printify actually has products for all three of those categories that they
Mhm.
just came out with this year. And
Somebody needs to jump on it.
yeah, like I know people selling print on demand coffee, but a lot of them that's not really their core product.
Mhm.
But yeah, the supplements, it's going to be interesting to see. Like it is a very new product, but it's going to be really interesting to see over the next couple of years if a lot of new brands pop up in one of those three categories. And I'm talking like new print on demand brands pop up in one of those three categories,
Yeah.
and their content, their niche is just all about one of these areas, and then they sell a bunch of products in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's always been a huge category of beauty, you know, skincare, healthcare. I mean, all that
Totally.
stuff is
It's
like
massive,
humongous.
massive. Yeah.
But there's also data, like I said, to support that. If you have an internet brand, an e-commerce brand, like it's blowing up right now. Obviously, most of these brands are potentially creating their own products, having their own, you know, skincare and healthcare and beauty and different things, those products created. But many of them, I'm sure, are drop shipping things. Many of them may be using print on demand. So I think this could be, if somebody could kind of figure this niche out, that could be huge. And I don't think it would be super difficult just because the demand is already there, for sure.
Yeah. No, it'd be so cool to see a new print on demand company come out of the woods and just give some of these big companies a run for their money. Like I want small businesses to get a piece of the pie too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
with print on demand, that's what it's doing. Essentially, what it's doing is it's just making it more available and competitive for people in a lower risk, lower cost kind of way
Mhm.
to to step into some of these mega billion, multi-billion dollar markets and actually, you know, have the potential to disrupt and start profiting from the huge demand that's out there.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea of this episode is that like, I think that what I want to communicate in this episode is well, especially in this part where we're talking about products is like sometimes you need to kind of go the completely opposite direction, I think, of everybody else. I think there can be power in that. What you don't want to do, like we've talked about, is try to sell everything, try to be everything, right? Like you want to find products that are useful, but also might be just out of the norm because that'll help you stand out. And so I want our listeners to listen to this episode just to think about things a little bit differently, and just wanted to bring kind of some fresh perspective, fresh takes to our podcast today. So it's a little bit weird, it's a little bit off, but I think there's some really good nuggets for people in here. Um, moving into the last portion of this episode, I want to talk about differentiators. So what's going to really make you different? Whether you go into a common category, maybe like t-shirts, clothing, or mugs, or you go into something weird, like what things are going to help you stand out even more, even above just like having a unique product. Because even the most unique products, a lot of times, like, there's a lot of brands out there. So how are you going to stand out? A lot of people selling those products. So talking about some differentiators, the first one I'm going to talk about, I know we have a little bit mixed feelings on this. Again, just keeping it weird today. But it's personalization. So first differentiator is personalization. And, we've talked about personalization a little bit, but I just can't get away from it. I can't get away. Like, it's everywhere. It's, if you go and start doing the research on really what's blowing up as far as print on demand and as far as clothing and those kind of different things, like, it's personalized products. If you go, the brands are everywhere. The ads are all over my timeline, like all of my social media apps. Personalized products are so huge, and there's a reason. You can make more margin. You can charge more for personalized products because they are very personal to the person interested in them. Um, yeah. So I mean, it's like it's a great differentiator to have something that's personalized. The caution I want to give is like, yes, it can be a little more difficult. And what we've talked about in the past as like a potential path is, maybe not starting with personalization, but then adding it later on as something. I just want to say, I think the technology, the software is becoming so easy and so good. Like, I think that you can start with personalized products, even as a new brand. Maybe if you're not the most techie person, maybe if this seems really difficult to you, maybe you want to stay away from it. But I think it's become easy enough, in my opinion, that you could start with personalized products. And one idea is going into some of these high demand niches we've talked about and just offering personalized products within that niche. And maybe it's a niche that doesn't have much personalization already, but the demand is there for that niche, for products in that niche. And if you just add personalized products to that niche, that's instantly going to help you stand out and be different, and could be a huge selling point for you and your products. I know there's a little bit of a caution there. I maybe ruffled your feathers, Adrian, but
No, you didn't.
what are
You
your
didn't rub it,
thoughts?
dude. Like, all I want is for people to be successful in any way that they can, but I also want them to be successful as quickly as possible. Because if there's friction in the process, then they're less likely to keep going. And I know that complexity is the enemy of execution.
Yeah.
So I always have concerns when there's friction added in the process. You know me, I'm really big on keeping everything simple and really focusing on the designs, because it's a winning design that's going to allow you to totally transform your brand in your life. But like, I want personalization to get simpler. Like, I'm all for it, my friend. I want it. I've sold personal products myself. Definitely, they were never my best seller, but for some people, they are their best seller. What I will say is that when you go on a marketplace like Etsy or something like that, I do think there's a little bit of a false perception of reality, because when you go on there, you see a ton of personalized products doing really well. But
Mhm.
I think what's important to remember is that most people don't go on Etsy to shop for brands. They're not going there to shop from their favorite brands. Some are, but most are not, because most big brands are not on Etsy. The brands that a lot of people really, really love, the more well-known ones, they're not on Etsy. Etsy is, was a marketplace for handmade goods, and then opened up the POD and whatnot. But they still have a lot of kind of regulations in place on who can sell on there. So a lot of people, they don't go there looking for a specific brand. They go there looking for a specific product.
Mhm.
And the first thing that comes to mind, I think, for a lot of people when they're like, oh, I want to create like vacation shirts for my family, or I want to create bachelorette party shirts, you go to Etsy, right? You go to Etsy to buy these, and there's a lot of people selling them on there. But when you go to Etsy, when you look at a lot of the design research tools like Everbee, which is the one I use, you would think that like that's what everyone is buying right now. But I think that's what a lot of people are buying on Etsy, because they're going there for that, because they're not going there to buy from their brands. Usually they're going to buy unique products, like personalized products.
Mhm.
However, like, if I definitely am all in favor of offering personalized products as long as it's easy and it doesn't create too much friction for you. What I've seen and what concerns me and what my experience selling personalized products was that there were complications. It wasn't nearly as smooth as not selling personalized products. And sometimes there could be some real problems around it. That said, I agree with you. Like, personalization keeps getting better. I mean, you've got Gelato, who is good at personalization. Printify now has personalization. Printful has personalization. They're merging. So you would expect that their personalization features are only going to get bigger and better. So I dream of the day where it's as easy to create a personalized product as a non-personalized product for print-on-demand sellers. And I hope that day comes very soon.
I would say we're there. I don't. Because I don't know. I don't know when the last time you tried it, and maybe it was recently, but I can only use Gelato as an example because I'm super familiar with their software and that's what I use. But the way that it works in Gelato is like it's literally a couple clicks of a button, and when you create depending on what you want to do, and when you create the product, now there's in-page personalization in your Shopify store, and you don't have to do anything crazy to get it to work. And so, like when your customer comes to your Shopify store and there's a little text box on the product where you can type in something, whether that's a date or a name or something, you can actually see it update on the mockup in real time. Like
Mm.
it happens like instantly. And so
Yeah.
like it's really, really easy to set up. There's really not a lot to it. You literally like when you're creating the product, you create a new element that you want to be personalized. And then I mean, there's a number of different, like, depending on what you want to do, right? Like text is the easiest. If you just want to personalize text area,
Mhm.
you just literally like add a text box, pick the font, and then that's it. They're able to personalize it right before. You probably remember like if you without using like third party software, customers would have to click like personalize on the Shopify site, and then it would like pop up a box or something, and it was like real janky. But now it's literally like you can just type on the product page and it just shows you in the mockup. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, mine
Um,
you could type in things like that. Like you could, have a design and then one
yeah,
word is personalized or something. It was a little glitchy, but if the apps aren't glitchy, like if they're
yeah,
really smooth and they don't mess up your orders, which yeah, that would be amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also like in Gelato, you can upload a group of images. So if you had like one example I've done in the past on YouTube videos, like if you were creating a kid shirt and you had like 10 different kinds of dinosaurs, right? Like you had a T-Rex, and you had a Velociraptor and all these different dinosaurs. Like you upload all the pictures, you place them where you want them, and then it's literally like creates a drop down on the product page where you can just click the dinosaur you want and it changes the image. So it's gotten pretty easy. There are more advanced personalization stuff that still needs some additional help,
Mhm.
but even just offering so I can give you one idea here. So one like idea, and this is really how I want people to kind of think about this episode, is taking something from the first category, niches, taking something from the second category, products, taking something from the third category, which was like one or more of these differentiators. So one idea was would be like if you went into the travel niche and you had a wall art brand, and that wall art brand was all like very, I guess you could say, like touristy places or common places that people travel, really popular scenes and pictures from beaches and, just like mountains and different places. And your customer could personalize that wall art with, their, like the names of the people that went on that trip and the date. So it's like you mentioned, like family vacations, right? Like
Mhm.
you go on a family vacation and you go to the Grand Canyon. Well, it's this beautiful wall art of the Grand Canyon, and you can personalize that, right there on the page, right? Really simple idea, but adding that personalized element makes it stand out. Being able to put in your family names or a quote or a memory from that trip makes it like a unique idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that, man.
Yeah.
I love that. Like personalized wall art, I think that could be huge. Like, I mean, it's already surely huge. It's
Yep.
already huge for sure. But I definitely think there's a lot of opportunity there still.
Mhm.
And I think I definitely think personalization, like the functionality, the built-in tools, the third-party tools, they do keep getting better. And I think in 2025, they're just going to continue to evolve.
Are you making a
Uh,
prediction for 2025?
What's that?
Are you making a 2025 print on demand prediction right now?
I don't think it's very bold. We said we were going to make juicier predictions, but
Yeah.
I definitely think personalized products are going to continue. The less friction there is, and the better the technology gets, the lower barrier to entry there is for others to get in there. And
Mhm.
I totally think if you have a successful brand in a particular niche, and you're well established and you're looking for like, okay, what's next? How can I evolve my brand? How can I introduce something cool and new? Then maybe personalized products is the way to go. And if you can master these personalized products, like, yeah, I mean, if you just use the simple features, then sure, you can start one right out of the gate and
Mhm.
you might have a lot of success. I mean, there are a lot of people that have a lot of success with it.
For sure. All right, let's keep trucking here. I got two more differentiators that I
All
want to
right.
talk briefly about. We'll kind of try to breeze through these a little bit. Second one, so first one, personalization. Second one would be brand. We're talking about brands, but branding, I guess you could say. Don't just sell products, build a brand.
Mhm.
This does what I don't mean by this. I don't mean plastering your logo across every like piece of your clothing, like that's your design, right? I see this a lot from students and people that own brands. Like, why isn't it working? And I look at their website and it's like, well, you just have a logo and you just kind of put it on everything. That's not really what we're talking about. Um, I'm talking about things like spending a little bit extra time on your color schemes, your logo, your fonts that you're using, the look and feel of your designs, the layout and design of your website, the type of customers and mockups that you're showcasing both on your website and across social media, and the type of content that you want to put out. Like this all contributes to your brand. And what I would say is if you don't have branding, you're not any different than any designer product out there on a marketplace like Etsy or Amazon or Redbubble, right? Like that's the really one of the huge things that helps you stand out is having like branding on your stuff. Um, this is really one of the things that sets you apart. And adding to that, again, I don't want to spend too much time here, but don't charge rock bottom prices because that can also communicate that your brand's like a little bit lower quality. Not all, it doesn't always mean that, but it can definitely communicate that. So usually when you have your brand, like a really professional looking brand, and you can charge a little bit of a higher price, and that's going to attract better customers, and it's going to just give off a more premium vibe to your brand when you charge a little bit more. So
Right.
I know we've had students that have done really, really well with their branding, with their colors, with their, the kind of the designs that they do, the quality of their products, those kind of things. But all those things really contribute. And I think this is probably the biggest thing. Like if you didn't take, if you didn't do the personalization, if you didn't do even the products, you just went with t-shirts, right? Like having really solid branding can be a huge differentiator. And another thing I didn't even mention here, which is huge, is like the story of your brand, the causes that you support. If you support different causes and different beliefs, like articulating those, communicating those, can be a huge way to win people over and really attract them to your brand.
Yeah. No, I think I definitely think the way to go is to build a brand. I've
For sure.
always been very passionate about brand because people are passionate about brands. A lot of people are passionate about brands. They feel like they align with their values or their passions or whatnot. And those are who people are drawn to, right? Like brands attract brand loyalists.
Hmm.
Whereas if you
Not just
don't create a,
one-off customers, right?
what's that?
Not just one-off customers.
Exactly. You don't like, sure, one-off customers are great, but the real money is in the repeat sales.
For
Like
sure.
I've talked about the 1,000 true fans model before. All you need is 1,000 people to spend $100 a year in your shop, and you have a six-figure brand. That's six-figure in revenue, not profit, but still, that's incredible. And the higher your profit margins are, the more profit of that you take home. And I think that should be the goal, really, to get like attract brand loyal, raving fans who love your brand. They love why it exists. They feel like it aligns with them and their values and their passions and their interests, and get those people to buy again and again, because it costs way more to acquire a customer for the first time than it does to get someone who already know, likes, and trusts you
Yeah.
to buy again and again and again. And that is how I believe you create a sustainable and profitable brand, not just, profitable and sustainable, by getting the same people to buy again and again. You want way more than 1,000 true fans, but that's all you need to get to that kind of six-figure mark, $100 a year from each of them, to get to that
Mhm.
six-figure revenue mark per year. But I think one thing that's going to get really big, I wouldn't call this a prediction, but I think this is going to continue to grow, is like the personalization of brands. And I don't mean personalized products. I mean brands that actually have a personality that sometimes in a lot of cases you put a face to. Like the
Mhm.
owner is on Instagram putting out content all the time,
Yeah.
promoting their own products, sharing their story, talking about this issue or this passion, whatever the niche is. And I feel like people are just getting really, really drawn to that. I
Mhm.
think we're kind of getting away from the days of the faceless brand where, you have no personality, no one knows kind of like what they would identify this brand with. And I just feel like a lot of people are being more drawn to brands that I don't know what the word is, they feel more connected, more aligned to. And
Well, there's
yeah,
a there's a saying, like, you've probably heard, right? It's something like, people don't buy, like, companies, they buy people. Like, they buy from people. They don't buy from companies, they buy from people,
right.
right? It's like when you walk into a store and, you're interested in buying a product and you meet somebody there and they really connect with you and they're helpful and all those kind of things, like, you wanna buy because of that employee or that representative of the brand, So, I don't know, hopefully that adds something, but
Yeah,
I
no,
I I hear what
I
you're saying.
definitely think that is going to help brands moving forward. And
Mhm.
it doesn't, you don't have to like be the face of your brand, and you don't have to put your face out there all the time, or ever really, but you have to have a personality. Obviously the easiest way is to be the face of your brand and showcase your personality and your passion. But um, like you can definitely have a lot of success without doing that, but just having a personality, like humanizing your brand. I think that's what I'm getting at. The humanization of a brand. I think that's what people are really like going to continue to kind of be attracted to.
I think I would agree with that. Last thing I have on here for differentiators, kind of wrapping this up, is one we don't talk about a lot. It's a little bit more difficult to communicate, but it's having a unique style. And really, I'm talking about the designs, like a unique style of designs. So, if you have a unique style of art or a unique way of designing, use it to your advantage. What I'm not saying is, I'm not saying, like, if you're an artist or a painter, I'm not saying to just put your art on products and sell it, because unless you have like a big like a following, it's going to be hard to sell like your art and different things. But what I'm talking about is combining your unique style of designs with a niche, and this will help you really stand out like in a crowded marketplace. So if you do, not everybody necessarily, not everybody that gets into POD or into clothing and those kind of different things, not everybody like has a unique style. I don't think. But there are people that like you create things a specific way and you do your designs, they have a certain look to them. And that can be a great way to stand out. That can also be part of your brand. But
Mm.
I have met so many brands, and I'm specifically thinking about the gelato summits I've been at, meeting a lot of these brands and then like looking these brand owners and looking into their websites and their brands and noticing that like the reason they're so successful is because like they have very unique and recognizable styles with their designs. And so again, this isn't a tip for everybody, but if you have this unique design language, like combine it with a niche and do niche focused designs with your unique style. And that can be a great way to stand out and be different. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of brands, they don't really know what their style is when they
Yeah.
first start out, but it evolves as they start seeing success. So this was kind of my experience. Like when I hit my first winner, I used that winner as inspiration to create other products that were inspired by that. And some of those became winners too. And what was cool about that is they were a very similar style and aesthetic. And I think a lot of brands, they do this. And I love seeing it because success leaves clues. Like if you have a winning design, reverse engineer your own design and use it as inspiration for other designs, because there was some magic there. There was something there that really resonated with people, that people really loved. So reverse engineer, take those elements and try them out on more designs. And what you'll notice is you might really lean into this, and then a lot of your designs moving forward are inspired by the winner because it's a winner and you want more. And so give the people what they want, right? So I think I love seeing that. I love seeing brands evolve as they start seeing more success and leaning into their winners and creating more stuff like that. And I've seen brands do really well like that.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I would say to kind of wrap up this episode is, again, if you're still listening at this point, thank you for continuing to listen with us. But this episode was for beginners. And I think that one of the things I teach and kind of encourage as a beginner is to map out a plan for your new POD brand. And these are the kind of things in this episode that I would be thinking about. What niche do you want to go into, along with what kind of person do you want to serve? Who is that unique customer? What kind of products do you want to sell in your brand? And also what makes you different? Things like personalization, like your branding, having a unique style. When you're creating that plan as a beginner for, what your future print on demand brand is going to be, map these things out. And these are some things you can think about. You can kind of come back to this episode, hopefully take some nuggets from it and kind of help you build that plan. So that was kind of my goal for this episode. Any final thoughts, Adrian?
No, man, that was fun. It was interesting hearing all this stuff.
I keep using the word weird because I feel like everything we talked about in this episode was not normally things that we talk about. And that was kind of the goal.
Yeah.
But we were like, it was just kind of odd.
It was the out of the box episode.
Yeah. I like it. You got to have one of those every once in a while.
Awesome. That was fun though. That was fun.
Hey, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Print on Demand Playbook podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us an honest review on whichever platform you're listening from. Thank you so much in advance, and we'll talk to you very soon.